Hello everyone, good afternoon. We're going to start with conference number 11, How to Manufacture Soul and Spirit. This conference is really important because it will explain us how to lead to radical changes within ourselves so we can start to manufacture our soul and then unite with our being and form the spirit. That is when we have the 100% of awakened conscience. So this conference will explain us the steps that we need to follow in order to do this. This spiritual work is really easy if we commit to our being, if we are disciplined and we start to practice and verify everything that we hear as a theory, as an idea, as a concept, and we begin to practice. So let's begin. What is the soul? So we have heard about this concept, the concept of the soul, but we don't really know what it is. So let's explain it in detail so you can understand what is soul. Right now, we don't have a soul. We think we have it because we are humans. Well, we hear that we are humans, but we are rational animals, mistakenly called humans. We only get to humanize ourselves when we fabricate the existential bodies for our being. So we need to first eliminate our ego in order to discover our soul. So it's a set of virtues, powers, faculties, and forces that form what our soul is. Virtues is when we understand a psychological defect. For instance, we have anger, we have lust, we have greed, we have gluttony, we have pride, we have a lot of egos or psychological defects that characterize our personality, and we need to destroy those egos. They manifest through our personality, that is the electropsychic vehicle through which our egos manifest. So we have anger. Every time we insult someone, we have the impulse to take revenge, to act in a way that is totally impatient, violent. So we have the ego of anger. But when we destroy that psychological defect that is trapping our conscience, we get to discover the virtue that is inside of it. When we destroy anger, we will learn how to be patient, how to be sweet, how to solve the difficult circumstances in a calm way without exploding, without reacting totally mechanically and violently towards someone in any circumstance. When we discover the virtue that is trapped in adultery, in lust, we will find the virtue of the fidelity, of the chastity, the value of our sexual creative energy, and we will find the virtue of love, because inside of the conscious use of the sexuality, we are going to learn how to love truly our couple, how to commit to that person that is going to help us along the path of the self-realization. And when we discover, for example, the virtue that is trapped in, for instance, greed, we are going to learn the virtue of how to manage and how to use our inner and external wealth, how not to be avaricious, how not to retain money and just waste it in something that is unuseful, but we are going to learn how to value the material things in order that they are just a mean to achieve something that is transcendental. For instance, if we have money, what can we do that is useful with that money? Instead of greedily accumulating that money, we can help someone by providing a powerful and pure transcendental knowledge. We can do something with that material wealth. So that is the virtue that is trapped in, for instance, greed. So let's talk about the powers. The powers are going to be discovered as long as we get to create the existential bodies for our being. We have the powers that are necessary to discover the wisdom of all the elements in the creation. The element earth, the element water, the element fire, the element air, they all have wisdom. And we are going to learn how to communicate with those elements that are present in everything, every being of the creation. We can't communicate with those elemental forces. For instance, when we get to regenerate our physical body, we are going to learn how to communicate with the element earth, because this physical body represents our earth, and that's why we are going to extract directly the wisdom of that inner force that is in the element earth, that wisdom that we can get to talk to the gnomes and pygmies. Gnomes and pygmies are the soul of that element that is earth, the minerals. When we get to regenerate the vital body, we are going to learn the power of being able to talk to the essences or the wisdom of the element water, that are undines and narrates of water, and to extract directly wisdom from that element that is water. When we create the astral body, we are going to have the power not only to achieve the astral projection, that is being able to go to that fifth dimension, that is the astral dimension, and travel to all the parts of the universe, planets, galaxies. Get to know that when we go to sleep, we have dreams. Those belong to the astral dimension, the astral body, the principle of astral body that we have. But when we get to totally create the astral body, we will get to use that astral body whenever we want to travel to all planets, galaxies, and different parts of the universe, to travel to different temples of wisdom, and to communicate with the elementals of the or the wisdom of the element fire, that are the salamanders of fire. Then, when we create the mental body, we are going to be able to manage and control all our thoughts, of all of that element air that represents the way we think. We are going to use also willingly, well, every time we want, the mental body in order to travel through this dimension, that is the fifth dimension in the mental body, and we are going to get to talk, communicate to those elementals that are the sylphids and sylph of air. And when we get to create with our causal body, create that causal body, we are going to have the will, the conscious will, in order to create through the power of our verbal energy that is in this motor center. We are going to transform matter. We will be able to heal ourselves, and we will be able to order to the different elements of the creation: earth, water, fire, air, and they will obey us and will transform the matter through our verbal energy. So those are the powers that correspond to the creation of the existential bodies of our being. So that's why we say that right now we are just rational animals mistakenly called men, because we don't have this human soul. We need to create the existential bodies of our being in order to have that human soul that we lack of it right now. So the faculties that we are going to achieve are different abilities that correspond to the development of our spiritual forces. So, for instance, if we regenerate our physical body, we are going to be able to communicate with the elementals. When we get to regenerate the vital body, we are going to be able to have memory to remember our past lives. When we get to create our astral body, we are going to have a lot of power in this conscious will that we are going to develop in order to resist every temptation, to manage the fire of our microcosmos. And we are going to have different faculties. Clairvoyance is one of them. We are going to be able to perceive things in different dimensions, like the 4 dimensions. We are going to be able to get to know if a place that we're in has an energetical larvae that are heavy energy that remains in the place that we are in. When someone has fed a psychological defect, for instance, people that have fornicated in a spell the sexual creative energy in a space, well, there are energetical larvae that remain attached to that place. Also, if in a place has been a murder or has been fed any psychological defect that has really got heavy energy, we can perceive those energetical larvae of the 4th dimension if we have the clairvoyance faculty. We can have a magical ear that is going to be the faculty of perceiving things with our senses, our psychic senses, like hearing things at a distance, like telemetry, perceiving distances, calculating distances. Other faculty that we are going to develop is going to be the clairvoyance. It's related to the sense of the self-observation, and that is related to our pituitary gland. So when we meditate, when we do the job of eliminating psychological defect, we can also perceive it in someone that is outside, and be careful with those defects that the person has. For instance, if it's a thief, it's someone that is going to attack us, and we can perceive externally that psychological defect. We have to be careful, and we are going to learn how to protect ourselves. But with the faculty of clairvoyance, well, we can perceive it more clearly and take care of ourselves in that sense. Also, we are going to awaken the faculty of the polyvoyance, that is being able to perceive all the points of view of the beings that inhabit the creation. So we are going to be able to put in the shoes of all the beings that are in the universe. That is related to the pineal gland. It's related to the wisdom of our being. There are more faculties that you will be developing as long as you are working in your awakening of the conscience. For instance, there is the feelings that you have, that there is being able to anticipately know something before it occurs. It's like a presentiment. Well, astrally, you are going to be shown when something is going to occur. For instance, that you are going to have a recurrence of fighting with your couple. You can also get to see it astrally before it occurs, because your being is telling you through that faculty that you need to work in that psychological defect in order to avoid that recurrence from happening. So those are faculties that are going to be given you as long as you're working and creating the existential bodies of our being. So and the forces that are going to come along with that are the forces that a million men would have to do things that you never imagined that you could do. For instance, if you're working the defects of alcoholism and drugs, and those defects had a lot of wisdom and love trapped, because when you were partying, when you were in those states, you could last several nights without sleeping. That is the force that characterize those defects. But you eliminate those defects of partying, of using drugs and alcohol, so it remains the force of that defect. That force of not sleeping for several nights, you are going to use it to awaken your conscience, doing practices of meditation, of sexual transmutation. You are going to have a really incredible force, for instance, of not being beaten by the defect of laziness, not falling asleep during a practice of meditation, being awake for several nights, but meditating a psychological flow, doing a practice of retrospection, remembering your past existences. So all those forces that were used in the feeding of a psychological defect are going to serve now to your conscience. So you are going to have a lot of strength to do things that you never imagined you could do. For instance, if you eliminate that bad will, that defect of just sleeping to 10 hours, and you just eliminate that defect, and you have the force of being awakened, of just being strong, not being defeated by the temptation of just falling asleep, just managing to do the astral projection, and you're going to have a lot of force for being totally awakened and totally prepared to do the practice without losing that state of vigil that you need to have in order to do the astral projection. So how are you going to create your soul, your human soul? First of all, you need to receive the 3 factors of the revolution of the conscience. This is an incredibly pure knowledge because it will teach us the different aspects that we need to work on in order to achieve the creation of that human soul, the existential bodies of our being. First of all, we need to eliminate everything that is grotesque and heavy of our ego. We vibrate with the force of our inverted Kundalini, that is the force of the Konda buffer organ. We vibrate with anger, with lust, with greed, materialism, and those psychological defects have to die in order to be our spiritual part to be born. So we need to first work in the psychological death. The process of eliminating all that sleeps our conscience. For instance, you meditate your adultery defects, your fascination with that prototype of beauty, the fascination with the physical appearance, with that envelope that is our physical body. Those characteristics produce you a lot of attraction, physical attraction, even the triggers, the sexual attraction, your sexual creative energy becomes in action. So you need to aware of what's happening in your inner world and start applying the psychological depth in order to develop that force of fidelity, chastity, and love. Just eliminating that defect of lust and adultery that will keep you losing your energy with every person that you encounter in the street. So you need to acquire that true love for your couple in order to start working in this sexuality. And also all your defects. Take, for instance, the defect of anger, that you're totally unbalanced, losing your motor energy, insulting people, reacting mechanically at people, just being totally upset with the circumstances of daily life, and losing that energy in an anger explosion. So you need to save your energy, eliminating, begging your Divine Mother that eliminate you the defect of insulting, of reacting, of yelling, shouting, of arguing for nothing. And you're going to find the virtue of just being, controlling your temper, solving situations in a calm way. And well, your conscience is going to be awakened, and you're going to be liberating those essences that are trapped in a psychological defect. Those essences have the force of the fire, that is love, the ability to do things in a conscious way, the ability to do things for our being, for our spiritual development, and that wisdom, that is the force that we have to resist temptation, that we have to do as our conscience wants us to do, that discipline, that fidelity to our being, that is the light of wisdom. So that essences, when they are free, when they are liberated from a defect, we can condense them through our spinal cord in the spiritual birth. The spiritual birth is a practice with a stable couple of the opposite sex, man and women. We have this polarity, electric and magnetic polarity. We are like a battery that when we connect sexually, man and woman, we are going to activate the fire of the serpent Kundalini. We are going to start in a sexual practice to create these existential bodies for our being. This is what's going to be born. That fire of the sexual creative energy, activating all points of our spinal cord and getting to create those existential bodies for our being, regenerating our physical body, our vital body, creating the astral body, the mental body, and the causal body. That is the spiritual birth, a sexual practice with our stable couple of the opposite sex, man and woman. And the purpose of this sexual relationship, it's not spelling the sexual creative energy in the orgasm or ejaculation, but saving that energy and condensing that energy through our spinal cord. That is the way that we can create the existential bodies of our being. And that is what we call chastity. Chastity is not being celibate, just hating sex, thinking that sex is something degenerate, being totally cold. No. Chastity is the force of valuing that sexual creative energy, that is the force of love within ourselves. It's the fire that is going to be able to create our spirit and create the force of love. Sexuality and love are totally entwined, and we need to discover love through a practice of a sexual practice that is going to create the existential bodies for our being. So that is the spiritual birth. We are going to explain more about it, but it's a practice in which we are going to ascend that fire of the Kundalini in a process of a practice of sexual a sexual relationship, like we know, caresses and kisses, a lot of fire, and the energy is going to ascend through our spinal cord in a practice of inhalation, retention, and exhalation of the air. And that way we are going to be totally connected, magnetizing with our couple and awakening the force of love. And we are going to end up the practice without losing a single drop of the sexual creative energy of that sexual cells that are going to uh, ascend through our spinal cord, and that is the force of the serpent kundalini. This is going to activate the superior centers of our human machine, that are the pituitary gland and the pineal gland. And the sacrifice for mankind is the force of love that is going to transmit this pure knowledge to all mankind without distinction of social status, physical appearance. Those are forces of the personality. It has no distinction. To all people of mankind, we are going to give this knowledge to share the possibility of everyone creating their human soul. Everyone has the benefit, and we have the duty to deliver this pure knowledge to everyone without charging, without asking for money, because this is our spiritual duty to help mankind do the work. Each one of us do the work of creating our human soul, because we have the right for it. We have the right of knowing the path that will lead us to unite with our being and awaken the 100% of conscience. And these are the keys that are going to lead us to that. So the steps to create a human soul. First of all, we need to encounter. That's what sacrifice for mankind is really important, because we need to deliver this knowledge for a person to encounter this pure knowledge around the world. It's sometimes difficult to encounter, but we need to get it to people to know it, this pure knowledge, in order to self-realize our being. So encounter the objective knowledge in the physical world of 1,000 that seek me, only one finds me. That is what happens with this objective knowledge. Sometimes, for reasons of karma, not all people are given the chance to encounter this pure knowledge in their daily life. The second step is to start practicing the psychological death, the sexual transmutation, and the sacrifice for mankind. These three factors of the revolution of the conscience are going to give us the chance to start working towards the creation of our human soul, the creation of the superior existential bodies of our being. First of all, with the psychological death, we are going to get to eliminate all that is heavy and grotesque of our contaminated essence. Our seminal envelope is contaminated by anger, adultery, pornography, hate, resentment, pride, envy, vanity. We have all the 7 causal egos, or the way we call it commonly, the 7 causal sins, the 7 capital sins. However you wish to call it, well, we have those essences that are trapped in our ego, and we need to eliminate them in order to rescue the fire that is trapped in those essences. For instance, you need to eliminate adultery in order to value your truthful couple of your being, in order to not being fascinated and distracted and hypnotized by all the prototypes of beauty that you encounter through the street. Totally, if you have that defect of adultery and lust, well, you're going to be totally your conscience slept by the physical body, that you become attracted when you are walking through the street, and you need to achieve the love, not being distracted by lust, valuing your truthful couple, achieving the fidelity, the chastity, that is uh, the saving of your sexual creative energy, not losing it, not getting to be activated or triggered by all the impressions of lust that you receive when you're walking down the street. So you need to eliminate that. Back to the Divine Mother. Divine Mother, eliminate me this fascination for the I don't know, for instance, you have the prototype of beauty of the blue eyes, or of the black eyes, or the straight hair, whatever that triggers your lust, and you eliminate that. Well, you discover that there is something transcendental, that is the force of love, not being hypnotized by the physical appearance of someone. And that way you're going to truly love your couple beyond that physical appearance of the physical body. And when you get to do that, for instance, with that defect, but it can be any defect that you encounter: anger, violence, resentment, rancor, hate, all of that, you eliminate it, and you have that fire of love and of wisdom. That is the fire that is going to ascend through your spinal cord. That fire represents your sexual energy that is totally being purified with the work on the awakening of your conscience. And in the sexual practice with your couple, you're going to focus a lot, get to achieve a state of concentration in the sexual practice, that the conscience is going to be centered in the action that you are performing. There is not going to be any distraction, but you're going to be connected in a sexual relationship with your couple, in which you, by a process of inhalation, retention, and exhalation of the energy, are going to imagine a cord, a golden thread, or a golden cord, that is the path of the serpent kundalini, that is ascending through your spinal cord, going down to your lungs, the air, then to your coccyx bone, then all along your spinal cord, until it gets into the superior centers of the human machine, that are the pituitary and the pineal gland. And the third factor is helping mankind, knowing this pure knowledge, and doing this job of awakening the conscience. Then the next step is going to be saving your energy, the energy of the 7 centers of your human machine. We have the energy of our sexual center, of our instinctive center. We have the energy of the lower emotional center, of the mental center, and of the motor center. Those are the 7 centers of our human machine. That it's a conference. There is a conference about those centers, but the purpose is saving and balancing the centers of our human machine through the self-observation. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? How am I acting? How am I talking? And that way we are going to get to purify these 7 centers, balancing and saving our energy. With our mental energy, we are wasting it because we are never thinking something that is useful, truthful, and fair. We are always thinking the worst things about people, criticizing, calumnying people, our neighbors. We are assuming they are doing things bad. We are assuming they are making mistakes. They are behaving bad. And well, those are our egos because we are projecting them externally in other people. That's why we are always criticizing, because it's the law of the mirror. We have inside ourselves all that we see outside. If we point at people and we accuse people, you are totally an angry person, you are a person full of pride, you are totally materialistic. That's why those psychological defects that we see in others, we have them inside of us. And the right thing is to eliminate them in ourselves, because the rest of the people, they have the right to act in the way they want. We don't have the right to force them or to oblige them to eliminate their defects. We have the right and the duty to eliminate our own defects, and we cannot eliminate someone's defects. So the right thinking will be not to criticize, direct the attention to our inner world, self-observe what we are thinking, why we are assuming the worst thing about others, how we are feeling, if we are feeling depressed, if we are feeling anxious, if we are feeling totally down. Why are we feeling those things? And judge ourselves. Eliminate me those feelings of sadness because I remember something from the past, of being totally nostalgic, of wanting to be in the past all the time. So we need to heal and eliminate those emotions of attaching to the past. If, for instance, in the right feeling, when we feel resentment, when we feel anger, when we feel hate. So why am I using this emotional energy is in something that is not useful for anything, that is not fair, because, well, it's hurting my being. When I'm full of hate, what I'm doing is I'm intoxicating myself. But I am not changing anything with those emotions. So it's something that is not useful, but for intoxicating ourselves. So we need to eliminate that. Divine Mother, eliminate me this emotion of hate. The right action. What do we do in our daily life? We waste our time in things that are not useful for anything. We spend our time just filling our mind with things that we see in the news, just being distracted by the social networks, and consuming contents that are full of trash. For instance, series that are full of violence, resentment, anger, pornography. And so what am I doing? Is this something that is truthful, useful, and fair? Well, no. So I'm going to eliminate that action. I'm not going to do that anymore, and I'm not going to give my energy to those defects. And the right talking. When I use my verbal energy, I'm not going to be gossiping, criticizing, pointing at people, talking about things that are not useful for anything, just, well, updating our agendas. Well, I'm losing my motor energy in things that are not useful for anything. So I'm going to eliminate that, and I'm going to be self-observing what's happening and where am I wasting my energy on, and serving my conscience instead of serving my ego. Then comes the seeking for a stable couple of our opposite sex. Well, you don't have to just seek for someone, because this person is going to be shown to you. You can also ask in the astral projection, what is the real couple of our being? Who is that person that is going to help you and collaborate you to create the existential bodies, to be united in marriage, that is the union the sexual union is what we call the truthful marriage. That sexual union that is going to get you to create the existential bodies of our being. In fidelity, chastity, and love, you're going to be united, working towards that in your sexual practices of the Kundalini. So you can astrally ask for that person, and in an astral projection they are going to show you that person, and also that person is going to be shown as well. Also, well, you need to do the merits, do the actions that are necessary to commit you to your being in order for being shown, no? You need to do a spiritual work in order to be shown who's your couple, your truthful couple. Then you're going to work in the sexual practices of the Kundalini, the sexual union, and in this process of inhalation, retention, and exhalation of the energy, ascending the energy through your spinal cord, you're going to regenerate the physical body, regenerate the vital body, create the astral body, the mental body, the causal body, and unite with your Buddhic and Atmic body. And that is the process of awakening the serpent Kundalini and the creation of the existential bodies of our being. And when you get to awaken the serpent Kundalini, because not in all the practices you're going to be creating the bodies. Only when you get to awaken the serpent Kundalini. The serpent is totally coiled here in your coccyx bone, but only when your energy is totally pure, when there is a level of purity in that sexual creative energy enough to awaken the serpent Kundalini, we can say that we have lightened the fire of the serpent Kundalini, and it's ready to ascend through the spinal cord and begin to create, to regenerate the physical, vital, astral, mental, well, all the bodies for our being. So not in the first practices you are going to be creating the bodies. We're going to have many attempts to lighten the serpent, but in the first sexual practices you're not going to have the level of purity to awaken the Kundalini. You have to do efforts in eliminating your ego so that your sexual creative energy is pure enough to lighten up the fire. When you lighten up the fire, that means that you have already awakened that serpent Kundalini. You are going to, in the astral projection, receive a sword. That means that you have already began your first regeneration of the physical body. That is the first part. It means that you are an initiate in the White Lodge. It's a little sword that is white in the part that you grab the sword from. It's going to be color white. That means that you already have awakened the serpent Kundalini. This is the process. So each initiation begins in the middle of the two centers and ends in the middle of the two centers. This is going to be the sword from when you are regenerating your physical body, regenerating the vital body, creating the astral body, creating the mental body, creating the causal body, well, and uniting with your Buddhic and Atmic body. So the physical body, vital body, astral body, mental body, causal body, and uniting with the Buddhic and Atmic body. That is going to be the process of ascending the force of the fire Kundalini through your spinal cord and creating your existential bodies for your being. Now we are going to talk about how to fabricate the spirit. Well, something that is really important that I forgot to mention is that at the beginning, well, when you are in the causal body, you are going to be creating the body of the will, these 5 bodies are in a lunar state. That means that you need to create them. We already have this atmic and buddhic body that is our 3% of conscience. These are our superior centers of our human machine. But in order to unite with them, when you are creating the causal body, you have a test that is the test of the nirvana. In the nirvana is going to be the path when you renounce uniting to your buddhic and atmic body. This nirvana is a test that is going to be in charge. Lucifer is going to be the one that puts that test and is going to offer a lot of temptations, all the temptations that we have denied too. We have denied adultery, lust, fornication. We have denied anger, hate, resentment, vanity. And Lucifer comes here and says, okay, you have denied all the force of your ego, but you still can you still can fall into temptation if you come with me, with your Lucifer, and you go to the path of the nirvana, that is the spiral of the nirvana. Here you have created all the existential bodies of your being, and you have the power to create through the verb. You have your human soul, but here comes Lucifer and puts the test of the nirvana. And if you fall into temptation and you decide to feed all the force of your ego, and you are afraid of the karma heart, the karma heart or the karma harsh is all the sufferings for the crimes against the Holy Spirit. If you're afraid that you are going to have to pay that when you self-realize your being, so you're going to go through the path of the nirvana, and you're not going to be uniting with that buddhic and atmic body. But if you refuse that path of the nirvana and unite with your inner Christ, the force of the fire within ourselves, you unite with that conscience that is the 100% of conscience, well, you're going to get to create your spirit. But if you go through the path of the nirvana, you are not going to eliminate all your causal egos. You're going to have a lot of wealth, a lot of pleasure, a lot of years of entertainment, pleasure, wealthiness, and you're going to just lose all the creation of your bodies and last as if you have done nothing, because the path of the nirvana is going to give you a lot of pleasure and wealthiness, but it's going to get you to fabricate all the egos that you have eliminated until now. Because only with the union with your superior centers, with the force of your spirit, you are going to end up all ego for good. So how to fabricate spirit? So you are going to unite, achieve the perfect marriage. You have your human soul, you have created those bodies for your being. Then you are going to unite with the divine soul that comes from the world of the spirit. That is the sacred marriage, the union between the divine soul and the human soul that you have created. So we have the force of buddhi, that is the force of love of your divine soul, and manas, that is your human soul. And those forces are going to unite with the force of Atman, that is our Christ, the force of our wisdom, the ocean of wisdom, and the superior force of light within ourselves. That is the second triad, when we unite the Buddhic and the Buddhi inside of us, that is the divine soul, with our human soul, that is manas. And we achieve that direct path, that is working through the elimination of our ego, and committing with the birth of our inner Christ, that is the force of fire, that is going to eliminate all the 7 causal egos. We are going to go through to our 9 Dantesque circles, to the world's inferno of the planet Earth, and eliminate all that 7 causal egos, and achieve the wisdom of the 7 church. That is the process of the apocalypse, the end through fire, because we are going to give an end to those 7 causal egos, or the 7 causal sins that are inside of the planet Earth. We are going to eliminate that radically through the force of fire, that is the inner Christ. So we are going to ascend as a resurrected master, because we are eliminating the cause of all our ego for good. So the most common questions for these conferences is how long does it take to create a body? Approximately, working seriously, being totally disciplined, committed to the self-realization, 2.5 years. How long does it take to create the soul? Our human soul, working in a disciplined and committed way, more or less 13 years. How do we know that the work has already started? Well, as I was telling you, we are going to receive in the astral projection, in this astral, the 5th dimension, when we go to sleep in a conscious dream. We are going to receive this sword that is color white, the white cash. That means that we are an initiate of the White Lodge. Is it possible to create bodies without a partner? No, it's out of sex or out of the sexual practices. It's not possible to create the superior existential bodies of our being. We need to achieve a stable couple of our opposite sex, because with our sexual practices we are going to ascend the fire of the Kundalini. By ourselves we cannot do it. It's necessary to have man and woman, because we are like a battery. We have this electric and magnetical forces. A battery needs the magnetic part, the positive part, and the electrical part, the negative part. In order to work, we are like a battery too. We need a man and a woman in order to activate that sexual creative energy. With that sexual creative energy, we can create another physical human body. We can create the birth of another person, the birth of a kid, of a baby. We can do it with our sexual creative energy. We use that sexual energy for the reproduction of the species. But if we use that energy to ascend it through our spinal cord, we can create not a physical body, but the inner bodies for our being. So it's not possible to create it being alone, because we need to activate that sexual creative energy with our partner and get it to work with the 2 poles, the magnetical and the electrical part. Is it possible to create soul being castrated? No, it's not possible. We need to regenerate our castration. There are techniques to reverse the vasectomy, to reverse the castration, the cutting, or the burning of those conducts that get to flow the sexual creative energy. So we can revert the vasectomy. We can revert that the procedure in which these conducts are cut, are tied in the case of the woman, we can reverse that process and regenerate the physical body. We can regenerate those conducts. The sexual apparatus needs to be in perfect conditions for the sexual creative energy to ascend, to create. So we need to be totally in with our sexual apparatus functioning in a proper way. How much time does it take for the second mountain to be done? Well, the initiate is given like 1,000 years with the same physical human body, but he can do it if he commits and has a lot of discipline, like in 20 years approximately. Why is it that of 1,000 people that seek the secret path, just one can find it? Because of the karma, the laws of karma. Some people have had this knowledge in different existences, but haven't gotten to share it with people. They are really egotistic and they don't share this knowledge with others. Others have lost the right to receive this sacred knowledge because they have received it in an existence and they didn't value it, or they committed adultery, they treasoned their being, and they committed crimes against the Holy Spirit, so they lose the right to have it in the next existence. Why is it that of 1,000 people that find it, just one person follows it? Why? Because it's really hard sometimes for people to detach to the force of attachment of the ego. We have a lot of pleasure and pain with our psychological defects, and we are really attached to them. We are really attached to that force, that negative force of lust, of just being totally trapped by those defects of masturbation, of pornography. We are really used to the habits, to the negative habits that of our ego. We are always accustomed of just sleeping till we lose track of time. We are used to drinking, to partying, to having things really in an easy way, to have pleasure. And we have pain when we commit to our being. We have pain when we achieve a little bit of will, of discipline, because we are totally used to that routine of our ego. But if we could see that there is something transcendental, that the force of personality of doing everything that everyone does all the time is not going to get us to transcend, is not going to get us to develop the force of love, of not being trapped by the mechanical conduct of just wanting pleasure and then ending up in pain when we don't have what provoke that addiction to us. So we are really used to that, and it's really hard for people to develop that free and conscious will, to denying, to resisting, to have that discipline, and to have that strength of resisting temptations. But because you are going to achieve something bigger than that, that is love, that is liberation of the conscience. It's really hard for us to see beyond that. So most of people just end up totally mesmerized, fascinated, and hypnotized with things that are ephemeral and provoke us a little pleasure, and they forget about the things that are transcendental. Why is it that of 1,000 people that follow the secret path, just one achieves the self-realization? Because of the temptation of the nirvana. This temptation of the nirvana is really strong. Imagine that you have refused all pleasures that exist, that you have developed that conscious will, that strength to refuse all pleasure, that fear of pain, that you have really become a human, a person with a human soul, really a lot of power within yourself. But the temptation of the nirvana offers all that pleasure that you deny too. They offer all that wealth, all that lust, all that instinctive pleasure that you denied, and they put you the other pole of the pendulum, that is pain. You're going to feel a lot of pain if you pay the hard karma, that is the sufferings, the diseases that you gain because you committed crimes against the Holy Spirit. So you need to pay that in order to self-realize your being. So a lot of people that come to the path of the nirvana and face that path, only one refuses that path of the nirvana and unites with their being and achieves the 100% of conscience, that is the sacred individuality, just uniting with the force of your spirit. So, well, this is the conference of how to fabricate soul and spirit. I'm gonna check the questions to see if you have any doubt or any comment, something that you want to share. Aliyu Garba says, greetings from Nigeria, West Africa. Greetings from here, from Colombia, from Santander too. Aliyu Garba says, very educative. Musani Omisha says, greetings from Nigeria, West Africa. Greetings to you too, from here, from Colombia, from Santander. Piri Simeon says, great. Thanks you, Perry. Thanks to all of you that shared a little bit with us, that gave us a lot of your attention and your time in order to get to know this valuable information. The important thing is that you get to begin to practice the elimination of ego. If you can't do it, get to practice the sexual transmutation in order to have your own knowledge, your own verifying of this knowledge, and your own results. Thank you for your attention, and have a good afternoon. We'll be sharing more conferences with valuable knowledge and practices that you can experiment and have your own results. Have a good day. Bye.